The Democratic Party is the evilest organization in the history of the world. Since their inception in 1800, they've been the party of slavery. Then, after slavery, they became the party of the Confederacy. After that, they started killing black people during Jim Crow era. You're voting for a party that tells you they are going to abort children up to the 9th month, castrate little boys, and call them little girls, mutilate little girls and cut off their breasts and give them puberty blockers. And you don't think you're gonna be held responsible? As we look at the Democratic Party and the chaos that they've reigned on our community, our young men, our young women, I have to ask you to look at what they've done to us. Look at what they've done to us. Look at what they've done to us. The Democratic Party is a death machine. Whatever they rule, they destroy. That's what they do. They destroy. They decided to try to infiltrate the black community, and they didn't have any success until they met somebody. Who did they meet? Martin Luther King. And this is where we went wrong. He made sure that he brought the black vote to the Democrat Party. They used the black vote to commandeer the most powerful country in the world. He who the Son has freed is free indeed. Once you accept him, you are free. Anybody in the Democratic Party that tells you any different, he's a liar, he's an apostate, he's the front to God, and he should be rejected by any Christian walking on this earth. And he's inviting you to go to hell with him. Don't go with him. Don't go.
Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome to the Standard of Truth podcast, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Happy Thursday. I am here. I don't know why my dog is here, but he's here. He's literally like, I don't know if you can see his shadow. He's not moving. Welcome to the live chat, you guys. We're going to do this live stream with Timber on the set. He's incredibly clingy today. I don't know why, but hey, somebody loves me. Welcome to all of you guys tonight, this evening. I'm excited to be here. I'm a little sluggish though, because I did not have my magic mind today. So y'all are going to see me. I have it right here. And we're going to have to take a little sip. We got to take a little sip so I can kind of get into the groove of things, because we have a lot to talk about tonight. So I initially had no intention on covering Umar Johnson. I'm going to give you a little backstory of what is causing Umar to be on the radar. But actually, I premiered a portion of my last week's live stream earlier today. It was about like a 39-minute segment. Had a decent turnout for the middle of the day. And one of my moderators, Susie Q, if you are listening, honey, you inspired tonight's video. So Susie Q had listed in the live chat, she had made this comment that kind of just, it just hit me. And I was like, you know what? That's it right there. So what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to do some announcements real quick, but we're going to talk about Umar Johnson calling out Kamala Harris and her attempt to garner support and I don't even know what to call this. I have some thoughts, but I was shocked. I am not even a fan of Umar Johnson. I don't care for his worldview very much and all of that Pan-Africanism. It just seems too much of an act. However, Umar is like one of those broken clocks that happen to be right twice a day. And when he says something that just makes sense, you're like, why can't you be like this all the time. So we're going to examine what Umar Johnson said. I'm going to go ahead and play the video, and then I'm actually going to present to you what I actually had prepared to talk to you about tonight, which is, y'all know how Kamala is always making these really weird and disjointed statements, like the word salads that don't make sense. I am not claiming to be like a subject matter expert on that, but I think I have figured out what's at play there. And I know a lot of times she doesn't sound that smart. I know it, but y'all, I have figured it out that she has all of us fooled. Kamala Harris has all of us fooled, and I'm about to break down tonight the just demystify so many of the things that she has said that seem like on the surface don't make sense, but they really do. And if you're not paying attention, it's gonna catch you out there. So let me sip this magic mind and say hi to so many of you in the live chat. Welcome. Susie Q is wise beyond her years. You are absolutely right. Thank you to all of my moderators in the live chat. Sister Victoria says, I'm a little nervous. His videos are overstimulated. Oh, they are. I'm not suggesting that you go and watch and take in anything that Umar Johnson has to say. In fact, I do think he is a charlatan, and he actually uses the pain and the plight of Black people to do something very similar like Kamala is doing in order to get, well, she's not... For the campaign, she needs your money, right? But she didn't really have any intention on doing anything for you. Umar is not that much different. For this school, he needs your money, but he doesn't really have any intention on actually opening up a school. So there you have that. So why don't we just go ahead? Quick announcements. This upcoming Monday, I am premiering the Will You Go to Hell For Me documentary by Vince Everett Ellison. And y'all, when I say I've been burning the midnight oil, planning for this event, trying to think about all of the things that I probably should have been thinking about for the past 2 months, but that just escaped me. You name it, I've been thinking about it. So I've been trying to map out and strategize and make sure everything is how it's supposed to be. My kids were stuffing swag bags today, and we're still not finished. I have another shipment of product coming in tomorrow for my VIPs. I've got goodies and confections being baked by the best Southern baker this side of the Mississippi, my bestie Shanice Lewis. It's just a lot going on top of the fact that I have friends coming over. I've got to entertain. I've got to cook. I've got hair to do. I just have a lot going on. However, on Monday, August the 19th at 7 o'clock, actually, let me just take this time. Oh, Lord, I spilled the magic mind on my nose. I got green wet spots. It's okay. Monday, here's how the layout. If you are a VIP guest for that live stream or for the movie premiere, you may have already gotten an email, but I did send out an email blast today just to give a little rundown of the itinerary. If you are attending and you have purchased a VIP ticket, you probably should arrive at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. we're going to do a meet, greet, and eat. Right? So you get the opportunity to meet people, greet everybody, take some photos with the Step and Repeat banner, and then head on over to the concession stand and /kitchen / they have beer and wine and cocktails and stuff if that's your thing. But you want to get that done, and you want to arrive at 6 p.m. for that. Then at 6:35, my VIP guests will be allowed admission into Theater 4, where you will go to your seat and find your gift bag waiting for you, or your swag bag, or whatever we're calling it. And then at 6:50, we are going to start the live stream podcast recording between Vince and myself. That podcast will probably last about 35 minutes. And then at 7:15, so we'll be recording at 6:50, but at 7:15, general admission guests will be allowed you can check in before that, and y'all can eat out in the lobby, but around 7:15 or so, I'm guessing we'll go ahead and let the general admission people in. 7:25, I will do a quick little welcome, and 7:30, the movie starts. And we don't have any credits. It's literally lights, camera, action, and the film is going to start. The runtime is approximately 90 minutes long, so we will watch that film. You'll get a potty break at 8:45, and then at 9 o'clock, Vince and I will take questions for about 25 or 30 minutes, and then you can go home. 9:30, the goal is to have you out because I have to be out of that theater by 10 p.m. So that's the layout of the land on Monday. If you would like to purchase a ticket, you can do so at events.standardhousemedia.com. Head on over there. If you're coming from out of town and you need a hotel, just scroll on down. That information is there as well. You can get a ticket. You can watch the trailer. Everything you need to know is on that website. So if any of my moderators could drop that link in the chat below, I would greatly appreciate it. So, hold on. All right. What mayor? Oh, super mayor. Yes, Sister Cynthia. So much is going on with that crook that it is hard to keep up. I'm kind of waiting for everything to kind of finally unfold so I can just do a one and done on her. But every day there are new developments with Tiffany Henyard. So I will have to keep my ear to the streets to figure out what's going on. But I will say this, Sister Cynthia, I believe that what's happening in Dalton, Illinois is just a test case. And I think we should use it as a prime example as to why we need to disavow identity politics and start paying attention to who people are and what policies they represent and what qualifications and skills, talents, and abilities they are bringing to the table for the role that they would like to fill in our lives, which is, i.e., local elected officials or politicians. It wasn't difficult to see that Tiffany shouldn't have been in that role. However, when you are lulled to sleep and you're not paying attention, I can see how, a couple of people show up, they vote for her. And then when you start seeing the results, I believe she has bankrupted that entire community. Things are being repossessed. They are unable to meet their obligations and pay their bills. They're laying off people. Like, it is really bad. This is a prime example of what you get when you play identity politics and you trust people who have no proven track record or demonstrated any ability to lead and to lead well. And then another aspect of that disappoints me is the amount of men that she's able to control. Right, by the pull of money, right? They always say the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil, and I can see why. Because there's no way that little, she ain't but $1.52, maybe 117, maybe 125. I don't know. She's a little thing. I don't understand how she's just able to get so many people under her grip to comply and obey to her commands. But it has a lot to do with money, taxpayer money at that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see what Mr. Umar Johnson has had to say about Kamala Harris.
Black vote ain't for sale no more. Black vote ain't for sale. We bartering on business. We standing on business. Bring us some tangibles or get out of my face. Ricky Smiley, I love you. But crying on the radio for Kamala Harris, my brother, that's an all-time low. Don't do that again, Ricky Smiley. Don't you get on your radio show and cry for Kamala. Don't you do that, my brother. If you want to cry for Kamala Harris, you do that in the privacy of your house. But if we're going to be honest, Steve Harvey and Ricky, to my big brothers, but if we're going to be honest, Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey, y'all only carried on because y'all got paid to carry on. Can we please be honest? Can we see? I want y'all to understand, overstand, and understand what King Kong is talking about. Y'all carried on because y'all got paid to carry on. Kamala Harris and the Democratic plantation is paying you celebrities, paying you to shame black people into voting. Y'all know we not going to get nothing out of that vote. Y'all know we not going to get nothing out of that vote. Y'all know we not going to get nothing out of the vote, but they being paid. Y'all being bought. They offer me $10K for an interview with Kamala Harris. I don't want your money, but we can definitely do the interview. They offer me $10K for an interview with Kamala Harris. Yes, we can do the interview. Keep your damn money. King Kong consciousness ain't for sale. I'm one of the real ones. Silverback Garvey Gorilla. I'm one of the real ones. Silverback Garvey Gorilla. Don't come to me with no propositions for money. I don't live for no money. I'm not one of these goofy ass rappers whose whole life is nothing but what you can buy and own. You dealing with real African DNA. This is real ancestral energy over here. I'm not no Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey. You don't drop no check off and say, get the Negroes to the plantation on November the 4th. You don't drop no check off and say, get the Negroes to the plantation.
All right, there you have it, you guys. Hopefully you were able to hear that okay. He is such an entertaining character. Umar Johnson, he puzzles me. Yet he also intrigues me. So Umar said a lot, much of what I agreed with. He talked about tangibles. He was like, listen, don't come at me asking for my vote when you already know that you're not going to do anything for that vote. He's asking for tangibles. Now, this is a Christian YouTube channel. I don't want you guys to confuse me with the pro-blackity blacks or the pan-African people. Like, that's not me. Y'all know me. I'm very forward and just outright with who I am and who I represent. I represent the kingdom of God, and I'm not one of those. I don't want a handout, but I understand what he means when he says tangibles. He says, for my vote, what type of political representation am I going to get for it? And then furthermore, if I'm not mistaken, Umar Johnson is a socialist, so he's absolutely looking for a handout. He wants reparations. He wants bread in his pocket, and he wants it now. He, if I'm not mistaken, also affirms a livable wage. And we can talk a little bit about what that is and universal basic income. Like, he lives like a capitalist. But he talks like a socialist. And so it's so confusing. It's very, very confusing when I hear someone like Umar Johnson calling out Kamala Harris. But I really believe it's because he really believes in his rhetoric. Like, he has a deeply held conviction about these things, but I don't really think he truly understands it, or he does, and he just uses it as a ploy to gain the approval of black folk so that he can continue to raise money for a school that has failed to materialize. Now, the irony is, like I said, this is a socialist, right? Who lives like a capitalist, calling out a Marxist. Oh, the irony. Like, I'm not mad at it, though, because it needed to be done. And I'm glad it was done by if you want to, well, see, it's confusing. This dichotomy got me all confused, because I want to say I'm glad it happened from a masculine male, but Umar confuses me, because on one breath he talk about being this silverback, gorilla, and then in the next breath he's always pandering to women and telling women what they want to hear because he needs your money. So I'm so confused, and the mixed messaging is where I am having the struggle. I do think it is incredible, though, that for once Umar didn't take the money. And I don't know if he's not taking the money because he's like, okay, I see the bigger picture here. It wasn't enough. He's just like, you really think I'm going to sell out for 10 G's? 10 stacks is nothing. You know how much my school needs, or how much I need in the name of my school to keep this charade going? But he did. He called it out, and then he exposed the others that are selling out their souls for 30 pieces of silver. I thought that was so interesting. So he talked about crying Ricky. He talked about Steve Harvey, and he just said the quiet part out loud. He was like, y'all are getting paid. And he says that, I, talking about himself, was offered $10,000 for the interview. Now, I think it's funny because in politics, typically the way it works, an interview is offered because you want your messaging out And usually the way it's not supposed to work, there's not supposed to be this consideration, this exchange of money in exchange for the interview. That is different. That is different than paying an influencer. The whole influencer game, that's another animal where you find people whose messaging and platform resonates with your message and platform. And then the two of you broker a deal together to say, hey, I want to retain you as an influencer for my brand, and this is how much I am willing to pay. Are you able to do a sponsored video for me? Are you able to do a sponsored post for me? Are you able to do whatever it is that they're asking you to do? I don't find anything wrong with that. I think that's the capitalistic way of leveraging your influence for money, right? But in this case, this is politics. This is a little different. And Umar Johnson, because he does lead by a conviction, although many of them I disagree with, his thing is like, no, I want the interview, but you don't have to pay me to do it, because what happens with the money, the moment you accept that money, the expectation is you're going to echo what I tell you to say, and you're going to echo my message. You're not allowed to express your independent thought, and you better not make any demands on me. What we're going to do is we're going to do this interview, and I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and you're not going to push back. You're going to fawn over me and Queen Mother Goddess Earth love on me. You're going to do all of that. And you're not going to ask for anything. Don't sit in this interview begging. You're going to take this $10,000 and you're going to say what we've trained you to say with these talking points. And then afterwards, before, you're going to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, meaning you are not going to disclose the fact that I paid you $10,000 to act like you love me so much. So I like the fact that Umar Johnson calls out Ricky Smiley, calls out Steve Harvey. We already know they're pimps and they will go to the highest bidder. And they've been lying to their audiences for years. Even though they live like capitalists, they want you to get on board with the socialist, Marxist, communist worldview. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And then he goes on this rant where he starts referring to himself as this silverback gorilla, right? And I'm thinking he's using that form of hyperbole to demonstrate that, I'm not one to be messed with. I am one of the fearless leaders in the community that stands on business, and I have principles, and you're not going to get access to my audience because I don't align with what you're selling. But for me, I don't have a problem calling himself a silverback gorilla, but I have a term. Y'all know me. We got the orangutans. That's the female imbeciles who can't manage their misery, the ones that show out and they just act a fool. They don't know how to act. And that's not an external description of what these women look like. It's not black women are orangutans or all women. Any kind of woman can be an orangutan. Like Hillary's an orangutan. Margaret Sanger, she was an orangutan. You got, let me see, Joy Behar, queen of the orangutans. I mean, I just have this spectrum of women that I've placed on the orangutan spectrum because these are female imbeciles who can't manage their misery. And so they lack joy. They show out. They're just not really nice people to be around. They're typically very rebellious, feminist minded. They're just not the kind of women that you want to have as friends. And you definitely don't want to marry one of these women because they will make your life a living hell. You will be miserable. But the male equivalent of the orangutan is who I call him the pavement ape. So I thought it was funny, when Umar calls himself the silverback gorilla, I was like, you know who you are, right? The pavement ape is the moronic male who can't function in freedom, right? So, they speak with this sentiment of oppression, and the white man's always got his knee on my neck, and the white oppressors and the snow bunnies, and they haven't gotten the memo that they are free, right? But they live as if they're just living under this oppressive regime that prevents them from being and doing whatever it is that they want to do. So they're morons, right? So they do stupid stuff, right? Like they tear up their own communities under the name or the banner of white supremacy. They just, let me give you a prime example. Some pavement apes are, when you look at the riots, or actually something better. You know who is like a chief pavement ape? I'll give you two examples. I'll give you Van Jones and Roland Martin. And then I'm trying to, so that y'all don't think that it's always about ethnicity, because it's not. Those are just the ones that keep coming to my mind. I'm going to think of another equivalent. Definitely a pavement ape is, what's the dude that just lost his race up in New York? Jamal Bowman. Definitely a pavement ape. I'd probably call Bernie Sanders one. And I'll think of some others. But if you get the idea, moronic male who can't function in freedom, right? And so they're self-destructive. They advocate things that are the opposite of what they say they want to be, which is free. They get glory and enjoyment from pushing harmful narratives that are not their observed reality or their lived experience, but they do it because they haven't gotten the memo that they are free. And so they try to rally others behind them with the same worldview. And it just creates this cycle of other pavement apes. It's just kind of crazy. Like, you got pavement apes in the hood and you got pavement apes in the boardroom. You know who what? Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is a pavement ape. Okay, I ain't gonna do a show about that right now, but I'm trying to just give y'all an idea so you'll understand what I'm talking about. So with that said, I thought it was interesting that Umar decided to call Kamala Harris out. He hasn't hid his disdain for her campaign or what she represents, how she completely ignores black men, but is willing to use black men to serve her own purposes. He has issues with her, obviously, because of who she's married to, because she's not married to a black guy. I don't care about stuff like that. I don't care who Kamala is married to. But Umar and I would share and have a lot of things in common regarding why we would disavow someone like a Kamala. But Umar confuses me because he's a socialist who lives like a communist who's got smoke for a Marxist. It is the weirdest combination ever. But I want to read to you guys this tweet that I found. This tweet says that Umar is actually the 8th person to expose Kamala Harris for paying for influence. And there is absolutely no way liberals can deny it now. And there are other liberals who are not black, right? Who have been like, wait a minute, like, why are you paying us? Normally, because I'm in the YouTube space and I've had a couple of brand deals, normally, a brand will only reach out to an influencer who they believe resonates with their message. And so it's weird that they would reach out to someone like Umar, when his messaging doesn't resonate with her. But I think she did it because she thought that he could be bought off, and for 30 pieces of silver, he would get on board like the rest of the pavement apes. But he didn't. And so for that, no shade. I can't hate on Umar for that. However, the meat of what I wanted to talk about tonight had less to do with Umar. We're going to move him aside for a little bit. Let me get to these super chats before I do that, though. Hey, you guys. Let me see who we have in the house tonight. Denver Johnson, hey, how are you, sir? He says a black man referring to himself as an ape, especially a black man knowing the connotation that such holds for black men, screams sell out. Under normal circumstances, Denver, I would agree. But let me push back. I think we have a lot of baggage in history with our ethnicity. We have a lot of, I heard one of my subscribers one time refer to it as like ethnic low self-esteem or something like that. Or we have this identity issue where references to animals, certain animals, like if he had called himself a giraffe, nobody would have thought anything about it, or a lion. But it has an issue to do with, because Black people have typically been associated with monkeys. Anytime you say monkey, ape, orangutan, gorilla, we take personal offense to it. But what I want to do is encourage you to think beyond that, because when I use the term pavement ape, it's not a dermal description. It's a behavioral characteristic. And sadly, I honestly think Umar meant it in a behavioral sense and not in, I look like a monkey, or Black people historically look like monkeys, or we've been associated with monkeys. I think we need to do better, or at least move past some of these stereotypes and allow words to be used in a way where it's describing behavior and it's not describing external characteristics and how a person looks. So when he referred to himself as a silverback gorilla, I knew what he meant by that. Someone that's strong and powerful and that's gonna swat you with one hand and just knock the living daylights out of you because he didn't come to play. That, and I hate that I have to defend him because, listen, I'm no fan of the Umar, but I understood what he meant. And when I use it, I have a definition for pavement ape. It is literally a moronic male who cannot function in freedom. So, just think they just wilding out, acting a fool, like they're in a cage and got chains on them, but they don't. Yeah, that's the victim mentality. That's a pavement ape. But thank you for that super chat. I greatly appreciate it. We got Frank. Hey. Frank said, that's quite a list of Judas goats. It is. I think you're referring to Ricky Smiley and Steve Harvey. Yes, and it's funny. Both of those individuals are members of Omega Psi Phi. And so, they're going to stay on code and stand on business. They don't really have an identity that's hidden in something greater than them, such as an identity hidden in Christ. Their whole identity is wrapped up in that organization. And so they lead with it, with everything that they do, how they speak and how they just expect others to have that same idolatrous passion for it. We just don't. It don't give us chills. It doesn't. So it's that talented 10th boule stuff that Brother Derek is always talking about. So I mentioned that earlier today, one of my lovely moderators in the live chat, Susie Q, shout out to you, beautiful. I'm so grateful to have you serve on this channel, because it's one thing to be, a moderator and just to keep people at peace, but it's another thing. Susie added value today that actually inspired this whole video. She made a statement in the live chat, and she said, when I was talking about Kamala uses this phrase, what can be what can be unburdened by what has been. And Susie Q said that was a Marxist phrase. It basically is describing a future utopia without the memory of the past, and erasing history of freedom to create this socialist nightmare. That's what Susie Q said. And I said, you know what, y'all, it's happening. And I'm not even hyped today. So, oh, Lord. All right. I'm trying not to scratch it too much, but it's happening. I'm wondering if this happens, like my nose starts itching, if I've had too much caffeine, or if my nose is sweating because of the light, and then the powder doesn't want it to sweat. I don't know what it is, but it's always the same spot. Always the same spot. But anyway, Susie Q made that statement. And when she said that, it hit me like a ton of bricks, you guys. I said, you know what? That's it. I was like, that's it right there. I said, yes, Kamala is not that bright. And all of us struggle to understand what the heck she is saying most of the time. However, There is so much truth to that statement, and I'm going to explain it. So when Kamala goes around and she says, you know, what on the surface seems like it's just benign, mindless bowl of word salad, Kamala is actually giving us insight into what she believes and what she envisions for the future of this country, right? So all of this time, Kamala has been saying this statement, and then there's just a montage of her saying it over and over again. What can be unburdened by what has been? Like, she says it. But what we've noticed from Kamala is that she hasn't shared any policies with us. None, not really, outside of her stealing Trump's policy with the no tax on tips. She hasn't shared any policies with us that would lead us to vote for her. And that's true. However, in this annoying hypnotic statement of hers, what can be unburdened by what has been, she's actually telling you all that you need to know about her policies. And you can't really see it on the surface, right? But let's look at it this way. So Kamala's mother was a Marxist and a socialist. So was her dad. They both had communistic leanings from their university training. And so Marxism is something that is a part of Kamala. It's a part of her essence, right? I would say that she's been a trained Marxist from birth. Now, most Marxists don't admit that they're Marxists, just like communists don't say out loud that they're communists. That's part of the communist playbook. You don't announce it, right? It's a very covert, undercover kind of thing. But I would say that the Marxism, it's the ideology that has undergirded her worldview, her entire political career. And so that's the reason why she can run a campaign without articulating exactly what she plans to do, how she plans to do it, or why. Like, she doesn't have to explain that. It's because Marxists believe that they don't have to explain anything to you. Like, on the surface, they can speak in generalities and promise you some vague end result. But in the end, they don't believe that they're accountable to you. So therefore, everything about what they do, it's on a need-to-know basis. You'll find out when we tell you, or when you experience it, that's when you know that it'll happen. So what I'm going to do, oh, God, have mercy. Give me strength, Lord. Please let my nose stop itching. I think it's the caffeine. I do. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think what's happening is the caffeine causes the blood to rush to the surface of my skin because I'm starting to get hot, and I don't have my, oh no, oh Lord, this gonna be bad, y'all. This gonna be bad. My fan is in my purse and my purse is upstairs. All right, we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this together, and we're gonna come out on the other side. Praise Jesus. Okay, so let me break this down to you, what I mean when I talk about the reason why she doesn't really have to explain to you what her policies are and why this is a need-to-know basis kind of thing. When Kamala is heard saying over and over again at various times and in various ways, her famous phrase, what can be unburdened by what has been, essentially, after thinking deeply about those words, like when you say it because you hear it over and over again, you're just like, whoa, come on, what does that mean, girl? Like, what you saying, sis? She is essentially espousing her Marxist worldview. And so let me explain it. So the ultimate goal of Marxism, you guys, it's to create an alleged social utopia on earth, right? So under a Marxist communist regime, their goal is to have the abolition of social classes, and in theory, they want to eliminate the exploitation and inequality that they claim is so problematic under a capitalist system. Now, I would argue that capitalism is the best economic system known to man, and no society that has ever implemented capitalism has not flourished, and it's able to lift more people up out of poverty. That is just a proven fact. I know the socialists and the fascists always want to talk about how capitalism is the problem, but no, that is not it. essentially what it is, when the Marxist wants to eliminate exploitation and inequality, it comes from a worldview it's definitely not rooted in any sort of biblical principles. This idea that everybody's supposed to be the same and have the same and no big eyes and little U's, that don't even make any sense. But what people who espouse this worldview, either they understand this and don't care, or they think it's such an idealistic way to live that they don't see the blind spots of it. So let me attempt to explain it, if I can get past my nose itching. So, to the average person, right, when you talk about, just there's gonna be equality for all, no one's gonna be exploited, everyone's gonna have what they need and be happy. Under a socialistic, Marxist, communist regime, it never works out that way. But it is what they promise. Their vision of a socialist society, it is often seen as a utopia, and they promise no poverty. Think about this. Think about the God of the Bible. Jesus is telling us that the poor you will have with you always, and Marxism comes along and promises no poverty. Like they actually have the ability to do that, but it's a promise. It's a deceptive, evil, wicked promise. And y'all let me slow drag this. Give me time to flesh out my thoughts. I promise I'm going to tie this all together and it's going to make sense. But everything is awesome. Everything is awesome in a Marxist, socialistic, communist worldview. And they claim that we will finally achieve equity. Note that word, and equality. You've heard a lot about equity, right? They love the diversity, the equity, and inclusion part. But it's the equity part that they spend a lot of time and energy focusing on. And the reason why that is because the ultimate goal of Marxism, according to them, they want to create a classless society where the means of production, they're owned and controlled by the workers, so they say, rather than this small group of capitalists. Now, it's funny because in America, we don't have a small group of capitalists. Like, I'm nobody and I'm a capitalist and I love capitalism and I've been able to use the capitalistic system to provide for my family and just create a life that under any other economic system, I would have never been able to achieve. And that doesn't make me special. I'm not special. It means I understand by the sweat of my brow and providing something of value to the marketplace in exchange for a fee that I can generate wealth and then I can bless others and then we rinse and repeat and it just creates this wonderful system. It really does. Oh gosh, this is bad. But to the average person, when you hear them talk about Marxism and socialism and capitalism, it sounds like the perfect system. And when you first hear this equity and no poverty, they will think to themselves that, you know what, this doesn't sound like a bad idea because I'm tired of working so hard. I feel like I'm working and I never get ahead. And if, they're just going to offer me this, that would make life so much easier, right? They make it seem like it's not such a bad idea. This is why you have a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon, but they're ignorant and they don't know what they're talking about, right? It doesn't sound on the surface. It doesn't sound evil or problematic at all. But in fact, you may think that such a societal ideal sounds like the perfect utopia. But that's the point. The point is in the sell. They want to sell you on an idea, right? Of what has been. You don't want to be unburdened by what has been. You need to focus on what can be. Because capitalism makes us feel unburdened. And that's the old way. Let me introduce you to the new way. So the ideology behind Marxism, it is deceptive. Because what it does is it tries to convince you that apart from God, apart from him, apart from religion, apart from his providence working in your life, that mankind can achieve a socialist society where there's this true equality and justice for all. No. The idea of Marxism, it's designed to create this society where everyone has equal access to resources and opportunities, and where the needs of the community are going to be prioritized, right, over individual profit. They love selling you on the idea that there are no big I's or little U's according to Marxism. But this vision, they sell it as something that would make us look forward to what can be and unburdened by what has been. They want you to look at this. This is a new world. This is Obama 2.0, right? More change that they want you to believe in. But in the end, you're not winning. You're losing, and they win. And the they, it's a very small they. Like the they are the ones that end up with an estate in the Hamptons at Martha's Vineyard. Not you. They are the ones winning while you lose your home because you can't pay the taxes and feed yourself at the same time, right? So there's this idea of looking to what can be, feeling unburdened by what has been, but they don't explain what's in between that and what they're really selling. So I'm explaining to you tonight. So a godless person like Kamala, who was raised by a Marxist-minded communist, right? She actually believes that such an ideal is possible. Now, here's why. I need to explain to you why Marxism is so problematic. It's anti-God. And it's completely unbiblical. And there are specific reasons why. And then what I'm going to do, I want to take it a step further. And I actually want to present the argument that you don't even have to be a believer or a follower of Jesus to see and understand that the evils of Marxism at face value, when you examine it at face value, you're like, yeah, this there's no way that this could work. And so what I want to do is I want to take some time to explain. So like in a perfect world, right? Some would argue that it would be nice, right, for everyone to just be the same. Everyone to have the same things, agree with the same ideals. Like no one person is doing better than the other, right? We're all just out here living and skipping, right? And enjoying the opportunity to exist alongside other humans without competition, or, you don't want anyone to feel left out. But here's the problem with that. For one, we don't live in a perfect world. The Christian worldview would affirm that we live in a fallen, sinful world where the hearts of mankind they're evil. Right? They're evil and wicked and depraved down to the core. Now, all of us are not as wicked as we can be, right? But the propensity of the human heart to do the unthinkable atrocities that are plaguing this world today, that is a very real reality. And since we know, just by observing history, since the beginning of time, we know that a Marxist paradigm as a societal structure, it only works when sin is not factored into the account. When sin is not factored into the equation, you would think, oh yes, this Marxism is achievable. And I think that we could actually create a society like this and it would grow and it would flourish and everyone will be happy. No, the sin element which we cannot eliminate apart from Christ, is what causes Marxism to fall apart at the seams. And I don't think that's something that Christians think deeply about. I don't think we consider the implications of, wait a minute, these people, y'all, I'm so sorry. When this happens, there are times I really just want to stop the whole live stream because it's such a distraction. And I don't know, y'all see how red it's getting? all because I'm scratching. I'm sorry. What was I saying? Oh, I don't think we know as believers. I don't think we think deeply about the implications of, well, how bad can it be? I mean, it's just a different economic system or way of, redistribution of wealth. And, didn't they redistribute wealth, in the early church in the book of Acts? Yeah, see, it's something about them categories. Right, we got to learn to make proper category distinctions and not make false equivalencies. The difference between what happened in the book of Acts and how a lost, fallen, sinful world can't do that is because they don't have the Holy Spirit. Right, and even in the book of Acts, where they had all things in common, the context of that was those were believers that were added to the church, believers who had been born of the Spirit and dwelt with the Holy Spirit. They were a separate race, a holy priesthood, right? So believers, remember, we are other. We're not like the world, right? So our worldview is rooted in an objective truth. It's rooted in an objective standard. We can appeal to the scriptures to say this is our playbook, our guide for how we're to treat one another, how we are to treat our fellow neighbor, how we're supposed to love people as ourselves. The world doesn't have that. Because remember, in the Marxist paradigm, it's a godless worldview. There is no God, right? There is no God there. And they don't factor in the sin element. Sin is what causes the foundation of Marxism to implode. Marxism and communism have never been successful, regardless of where it's been implemented. I mean, you don't believe me? Let's look at China. China is a communist country. Are you free in China? There's no freedom there. There's no individualism there, right? You are at the mercy of one man, their fearless, tyrannical dictator, Xi Jinping. And every historical attempt at Marxism or communism, it has failed. And it's resulted in authoritarianism and a dictatorship. And in every Marxist regime, the end result, when you study history and you look at all of these empires throughout the world that have implemented this, the authoritarian rule and the suppression of individual freedoms, that is the end result. And the reason why this happens, like I said, people are not taking into consideration the sin element. You have this concentration of power in the hands of a single person or a single party, as well as the belief that the state should control every aspect of society. We're actually already experiencing a little bit of that in this country. Y'all may have seen it on this show. I've worn a shirt that says, "The government is not God." And I wear that shirt on purpose. For me, it's about the message that I send. When I go out in the marketplace and I wear that shirt, I'm sending a message to let everyone know the government bows the knee to the God of the Bible, but the government is not God. God reigns supreme. The government does not reign supreme. In the Marxist worldview, though, there is no God. Why? Because the states call the shots. The state decides what's best for you. The state is the one they're the end all be all. Nothing happens unless they say it happens. So when you subscribe to Marxism because it's a godless worldview, you don't believe that image bearers are created in the image of God and they deserve dignity, value, and respect. No. You don't believe that all men are created equal. This is why you can call somebody a human weed, right? Like Margaret Sanger. This is why you could kill someone and then allow others to live. Like in the womb, Kamala doesn't think there's anything wrong. She thinks it's a good idea for women to kill their babies without there being any government restraints. She doesn't recognize the personhood of the child in the womb. Humans are only good for one thing. In her worldview, being submissive to the will of the government, being subjugated and controlled by this handful of people who they tell you what to think, i.e. the mainstream media. This is why Joy Reid is useful. This is why MSNBC is useful, and CNN, all of them. Being exploited, that's another purpose of humans, right? So when Kamala talks about incessantly about what can be, unburdened by what has been, she wants you to think about the possibility of having no economic struggles. But the problem is, under a Marxist economic system, the state owns the means of production. So that means the state is in charge. They're in charge of the central planning and decisions over your life. This is why they think that you share custody of your children with the government. This is why you can send your child to school, and your child can decide that they're going to transition to a different gender, and you don't even need to know. Why would we call you and tell you that Keisha wants to be Ken? Why would we do that? We share that in that worldview. They don't even share custody. They're like, no, we are the custodial arbiters over your kids. We decide what they should learn. We decide all of that. The state is in charge of the central planning and decisions over your life. And when that happens, there is no concept, if you think about it, of America being a ladder and how you can climb up and down that ladder based on your own efforts and your own hard work. That goes away. I believe in American ingenuity and American exceptionalism, but under a Marxist system, all of that goes, that light is dimmed. It's just put under a bushel, snuffed out. They just pour water all over it. They kill the American ingenuity and that exceptionalism that has made this country so great. That concept, in order for Marxism to thrive, that concept has to die in order for government to truly live. And so, what's the end result? What's the end result? We already know it's a godless worldview. They're not informed by any sort of, we know the Bible teaches that it is written on the conscience of all mankind, a knowledge of who God is, whether they bow the knee and acknowledge him or not. The Bible declares and provides witness, the inner witness of the human conscience that says, you know that there is a God. Now, you don't honor him or give thanks to him, right? This is according to Romans 1, but you know why? Because God has testified of his existence, and it's all around us. In the things which have been made, look around, the sun, the moon, the stars, the trees, how they grow, and how the birds, and they don't feed themselves. God provides food for them as well. All around us, we can see that there is a creator. But the Marxists, they don't bow the knee to him. They don't give thanks to him. What do? They become, with their darkened hearts, foolish. Their hearts are darkened, claiming to be wise. They become fools. And what do? They exchange the worship of the one true God for birds and animals and creeping things. They start worshiping the earth, talking about climate change and, we going to save the planet. Like they have some sort of sovereignty and agency over the weather. That's amazing to me. Let me get this super chat, you guys, and maybe that'll give me an opportunity to do something with my nose. I don't know. Oh my goodness! Thank you so much for that super chat. Blessed indeed. I am so grateful for that contribution. That is what a generous gift that you have bestowed upon me tonight. Thank you so much for believing in the work that I am doing here, despite the fact that I'm sitting up here looking like a coke addict, scratching my nose. Listen, if you are a regular of this channel, at least once a month, every other month, this happens. And we haven't been able to pinpoint why, and I can't make it stop, but I think it has something to do with the blood flow. When I have the caffeine, and it's weird because I drink coffee every day. I think it's a combination of the lights, the heat, the caffeine stimulating blood flow. It's rushing through the capillaries to the surface level, the epidermis of my skin, and just the combination of all of that, my nose just, it's some sort of histamine effect. And I don't know what it is. It's not my dog, because this happened well before we got timber. So I don't know. And I want to sip this so bad, but I'm scared. Like every time it dies down, I think I'm going to be okay, but I don't know. But I'm thankful. Blessed indeed. You have blessed me indeed. Thank you so much. You didn't have anything to say, but you just wanted to bless me. And I'm grateful for that. To God be the glory. My friend Chow. Hey, Chow. Chow says, oh, the depth of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God, how unsearchable his judgments and his paths beyond tracing out. Listen, Chow, you about to be my bestie. Let me explain to you guys why Chow is the bestie. Chow could easily, he could send these super chats and, you know, listen, I want y'all to pontificate. I want all of us to pontificate and be just keyboard warriors, like type to your heart's content. I want that. I think the engagement is good. But Chow has been such an edifying, has left so many edifying comments. And it's not because it's all this wisdom and philosophy. He's literally sending the word of God in that moment that is edifying to the people of God, that just brings scripture to our remembrance, that ministers to my soul. That one made me shout. Okay, I was about to, y'all know I got a charismatic background and I don't cut up rugs no more. But that right there, I don't shout off a season harvest and favor and the breakthrough stuff. That stuff does nothing for me but the pure milk of the word. Man, oh, the depth of the riches. I got to put that back up again. Oh, the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God. How unsearchable his judgments and his paths beyond tracing. Y'all, that is literally saying, us and our little 3-pound brains, we cannot fathom the who of who God is or the what of who God is, right? It's the depth of his wisdom and knowledge. Like, you just sit here blanking out because you're like, there's no degree to searching it out and be like, I figured it out, I've hit it, I'm right there. No. The depth of it is vast beyond what we could ever attempt to try to wrap our minds around or understand. And then how unsearchable his judgments, meaning whatever it is that God does, he does all things well. And we don't have the capacity with our 3-pound brains to even understand his judgments, right? And what he's got going on and what he's doing, his paths beyond tracing out. Like, you're trying to figure out what God, this is why it bothers me, all of these so-called prophets on the internet, and they got a word every day, every Monday. I hear the Lord saying, and the Lord told me that you know nothing. You know nothing. And the reason why you know nothing is because if Romans 11 right here in verse 33 is affirming that his paths are beyond tracing out, why would the God of the Bible, literally be implanting his infallible word in all these random people on the internet, and the words are all contradicting each other? And not only that, some of them have been proven to be false. And then the next question is, why do we believe that beyond scripture, that the Lord is revealing something to us that's inspired and infallible, and it's not codified in God's word? But you're a prophet. Like, you can't even manage your own life. And you want to stand before the people as if you're some prophetic voice and that God spoke specifically to you and we're just supposed to believe what you say and keep a Bible closed. You got me messed up. Even with my nose itching, I ain't listening. Oh, okay. So let us, never mind, y'all missed the joke. It's okay. Well, that was funny. My son laughed. Okay. Where was I? Oh, okay. I remember. So when I was talking about this American ingenuity and this American exceptionalism, how it goes out the window when we are under this Marxist, communist, socialistic paradigm, right? And when the government controls the means of production, that always leads to economic struggle, disaster, and inefficiency. Now, we're already living and experiencing the inefficiency of what that looks like, right? Look, and no shade to my veterans. Y'all know I love you. This don't have nothing to do with you. But we do need to just look at the department or the VA system, the VA healthcare system. If you want to see inefficiency and just struggle and just when the government is controlling the means of production, what that looks like, I would use the VA system, the healthcare system as an example. I would also present the Department of Education. Just look at those. Like it's just a bunch of inefficiency, low productivity, and abysmal outcomes. That is what we see. When you remove the consentive, what is consentive? When you remove the incentive for someone to compete, the incentive for someone to do or make something that's bigger and better than what came before it, we end up losing innovation. Nothing innovative happens anymore because you've removed competition. And what you've done is you've basically suppressed people's creativity because they're looking to the government to fill this need. Productivity, it's killed. It is inefficient. The inefficiency is just completely diminished. But furthermore, you can't trust one single entity to create a plan that is truly fair and that's going to allocate resources accurately. Why is that? Because the left has already shown us this. They've already shown us in their attempt, right? So they want to champion the rights of women, for example. They're now stomping on the rights of biological women by telling non-biological women that they can now be women and therefore erasing the strides and the progress that biological women have actually made because now trans women's rights, they trump biological women's rights. You see how that works? There's always going to be this one group in an effort to provide the equality and the equity for everybody. Someone is going to lose and someone's going to be oppressed because the idea that we're all supposed to be on this even playing field and everything is supposed to be the same is not even how God designed humans to work, function, and flourish. Look at the concept of the participation trophy. Look at what that has done to us. If no one is better than the other in terms of skill set, productivity and outcomes, right? And we're all the same. You have individuals who have no talent, zero skills. They're given opportunities not because of merit, but because in the Marxist system of the kumbaya, right? The underachiever, in their view, should be given the same opportunity as someone who has worked their tail off to be the best and the brightest at whatever they've set their mind to. Whatever it is that they've set out to do and achieve, that person, right? The loser just gets to celebrate in the glory of being counted the same as the one that actually did the work. This always ends in disaster. It always ends in hatred for your neighbor. It results in covetousness, this entitlement, a bunch of other works of the flesh, right? It snuffs out the spark in all of us who you may have a brilliant idea or gift or talent or ability, but when under the system of meritocracy, everyone can benefit from your gift, talent, and ability because that's your contribution. And then you get to be rewarded for a job well done and for having contributed something of value that is useful to everyone who needs it without distinction. But see, in Kamala's worldview of what can be, unburdened by what has been, what she hasn't explained to you is that all of the human rights abuses that have occurred under this Marxist regime, right? So remember, in Marxism, it's a godless worldview. There's no God. It's just government is the bee's knees. So because it's a godless worldview, humans don't have individual dignity, value, or worth, and they're not entitled to independent thoughts and opinions. So therefore, you end up seeing lots of oppression. You see lots of censorship, right? You see lots of violence against descendants. So I think it's funny that Umar Johnson, who espouses socialist ideals, he loves the idea that he has independent thoughts. He has independent feelings and opinions about a myriad of topics. And as of now, he's allowed to express them freely because in America, for now, well, not even, you get to do that. But if we were truly living under the worldview that he espouses, which is socialism, which is Marxist, communistic, kumbaya, everybody's the same, all you see is oppression. And you have to silence the dissenters because the dissenters would cause an uprising of the free-thinking people and cause the free-thinking people to push back. And this is what you're seeing now. When you see people, content creators like myself, or an Anton Daniels, or even an Umar Johnson, push back and say, Ricky Smiley, you sound like a fool, you don't get to say that under Marxism. Because people like me, right, someone who knows how to fully function in their freedom, just enjoying what it means to be an American in this country, with all of the rights, all of the privileges given to me by my creator as an inalienable right, that is not allowed. That's not allowed. That's why the censorship is at an all-time high. This is why you really can't say what you want to say, because the idea of an individual having an independent thought, sharing their view that's in opposition to the ruling class, in opposition to what the government believes is right, you are a problem. And this ends up happening because individual freedoms are suppressed. And then you have this high concentration of power in the hands of whoever's in charge. And in this case, in this country right now, it's the progressives. It's the Democrats, the ruling party. And so Kamala wants to keep drilling into your brain what can be unburdened by what has been. And it's because she's not interested in the fact that this is a country that only knows freedom and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. No. What many people don't understand is that Marxism and communism, it always leads to social and cultural upheaval. Because anytime you attempt to implement Marxist ideas, you're going to get people that's going to fight you to their death to push back against it. That would be me. I'm one of those. I'm one of those that, I'll die for the cause of Christ. Absolutely. That is one of the things I'm willing to die for. I'm also willing to die. I'll be no one's slave. That's not going to happen. There won't be any, gun buyback programs that I'll be participating in. You're free to do that, not me. That's not going to happen, right? There's freedom-loving Americans such as myself who value traditional social structures. We don't appreciate you trying to force down our throats sexual perversion and womb assassination, government indoctrination, taxation in the form of theft with no representation. Because that's what we're getting. We're taxed to death. We don't have better political representation at all. They don't provide better outcomes, but they just take your money. And they send it overseas to fight whatever wars they want to fight. They take your money and they purposely take care of migrants. I'm sorry, illegal immigrants who are not citizens of this country. And they sit and they watch you complain about it, cry about it, and then look at you like, well, what you want us to do? We told you was going to have to cooperate with the illegals. You know, it's more of them than you anyway, or at least at the time it wasn't, but they were a growing population. I would say the Hispanics, not the illegals, that's different. Legal Hispanics that are here in this country legally is different than the illegal migrant crisis, but you don't think they opened up that border and let all those people come here for a reason? You think it was for benevolence sake? Mm-mm. It wasn't for benevolence sake because they just have this heart of gold that they just want to open up their doors to people who are victims of political persecution. Shoot, heck, we are victims of political persecution. But them opening the floodgates of the borders, no, and then shipping them to liberal epicenters such as New York and Chicago and LA and San Francisco and Houston and Atlanta. No, they did that for a reason. This is why there's so much turmoil in this country. This one of the reasons why. I don't know what we're gonna do with this nose. This is wild. Are y'all praying? Are y'all praying? This is why there is so much social unrest and instability. They're literally creating the problem, the infighting between the citizens of this country and the ones that they just let come here illegally across the border, giving the illegals, EBT cards, paying their, giving them stipends every month to provide and take care of themselves. They want to give them work permits. I was watching a video today. I was trying to find the original video and I haven't been able to find it yet. But it's of a Black American woman who's a small business owner. She has a food truck. And because she was, trying to do something different, she says she worked so hard. She worked so hard and paid $25,000 cash for this food truck. And she goes on to talk about how, when she was trying to start her business, she couldn't get a loan and her credit was good. It's just, y'all don't understand this small business world. I don't know what y'all heard. Like they just give out money to Black folks to start businesses. I mean, there are grants out there, but there's not this overwhelming, like, hey, you can get a student loan easier than you can get a loan to start a business. That is wild to me. They're literally creating slaves, indoctrinated slaves, calling them educated, by giving any and everybody who wants a student loan, you can get one of those. But the moment you come up and say, hey, I've got this idea of a product or a service, and I just want to exercise my American ingenuity and exceptionalism and provide this product or service to the marketplace, can I get a loan to start this? No, you don't get that. You don't get that. It's very difficult. I've been a startup from the bottom with nothing. That's your blood, sweat, and tears. That's your retirement money, whatever savings you have, everything that you own and love, you put into your business to make it successful. And this woman is telling a story about how she was wanting to sell her vehicle, her food truck, and an illegal migrant offers to buy her truck. And she says that when she's looking at his paperwork, she like, well, wait a minute. She recognized that he was given this money in order to do this. And she starts crying. And it took everything in me not to cry because I understood her anger and her frustration because we started our business with no help and no money. And hey, that's fine. The person that I became by becoming a startup and not having access it would have been nice to have access to capital, but you become very, very resourceful, and it's this level of character that is built because you're like, you know what, at the end of the day, I did that by God's grace, and I didn't need a government handout to do it. But when that woman started crying, demanding answers from the Biden administration over why someone like him, who's not even a legal citizen of this country, could gain access to capital to buy her food truck that she paid for cash because she couldn't get a loan, even though she demonstrated credit worthiness. She wanted answers for that. And I didn't have the heart to tell her, you know, we've been trying to tell you, sis, that this is the agenda. This is what they're trying to do. Right? This is what they're trying to do. But when I listened to her tell that story, it was heartbreaking. And it's sad that it has had to come to this point where now it's real. Like, people are like, oh, fat meat is greasy. They really don't give a darn about us. Why have we given so much power to the federal government? And I would go a step further. Why have we given so much power even to our local governing authorities, where they raise your taxes despite public outcry? And it's because we keep voting for people on vanity metrics. In the county where I live, they just announced, despite a petition, despite people saying, if you don't roll back this millage rate, we're going to have a lot of people who are going to lose their homes because they cannot afford the taxes. You think they care? Mind you, these people don't pay property taxes because some of them don't even live in this county, but they sit on the board of commissioners. And a 2-to-1 vote, outcries were ignored, and those Negroes raised the millage rate anyway. But you know what? The people who are crying about the increase of the taxes because of the millage rate voted for these people. Voted for someone who's a known criminal, who came to the county with a criminal record. Sure did. Voted for someone who's already cost this county money in a lawsuit because of some sort of sexual impropriety situation with an employee. So now we got all these taxes and we got a failing school system. Our superintendent makes over $300,000 a year plus access to a Chevy Suburban that was like $65,000. And the kids here can't read on grade level or do math. But it's a Democrat-run county. So they keep voting for these people, and then they're confused and upset when things like this happen, and people like me, I'm outnumbered. So outside of standing on my soapbox, using my platform to expose them, showing up to the meetings because I showed up, signing the petition, which I did, running my mouth on Nextdoor trying to educate people, they're so blinded by I believe these Marxists, they use the ethnicity as a way to emotionally bait you on to get on their side. And then when they've won your trust, they do stuff like this. They do stuff like what the Harris administration is going to do. And then you sit back confused. Like, well, we trusted you. You said you was going to look out for us. She told you to think about what can be unburdened by what has been. You're going to have to let go. Let go of those days when taxes were bearable and interest rates were moderately affordable and inflation wasn't high. We got to be looking toward what can be. You got to be unburdened by what has been. Marxists always try to assert their power and authority and overstep their boundaries, attempting to dismantle and challenge what is universally accepted and established as right. And what they want to do is they want to replace it with what's wrong, calling things that every person with a pulse, unbeliever or not, can universally agree, like, yeah, that's kind of evil. No, they try to sell it to you and force it on you to believe that it's good. You got black folks out here voting for the transitioning of children as if it's a good thing. And some of these people stand up in the church every Sunday talking about, I lift my hands in the sanctuary. Really? Do you? Well, who are you worshiping? Because we can't hear you, nor can we believe what you're saying, because the God of melanin is the Trojan horse that is the Marxism is riding in on. And the Marxism is in the Trojan horse. Ethnicity, right? The ethnic narcissism is the horse, and he trotted along. Racism is alive. White supremacy is a thing. Orange man bad. Hate your neighbor on the basis of race. Hate your neighbor. You know what I'm saying? Love the sodomites. Love is love, and he just trotted along. Love is love, and you like, love is love. Rainbow is it. Rainbow is it. Next thing you know, you out here eating cat food on the side of the road, homeless, because you done voted for all this foolishness. I say it's not funny. See, I done made my child spit out his drink. Y'all know I'm silly, and I use humor a lot to try to keep you from crying. And for some of us, for some of y'all, it's too late. And for some of y'all, you have the opportunity to course correct and think through what you're doing. But before things get really, really bad, and I mean really bad, one way to tell that Marxism is upon us, and I believe it already is. It's here in a myriad of forms. But this is why I believe Kamala has been elevated for such a time as this. Why the media don't want to say anything negative about her. You know, everything is awesome. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's capable. She don't do no interviews, but don't pay attention to that. She is it. But look around you. Look around you, friends. Look at the collapse and the transition of all the systems that are happening around us, right? Government's getting bigger. The Democrats are craving more power, but yet they cry that our democracy is at stake. Yet they rip democracy right from under you by not even giving you the option to vote. In primary, Kamala, they told you. See, in Marxism, they tell you who the powers that be are supposed to be. There's no, okay, well, we got JFK, we got Biden, we have, the Stein lady, the other Marxist socialist, Cornel West. No, They tell you this is who we're crowning king. And I know they tried to sell you on the idea and convince you that they only did it because Biden was old and he couldn't run the race no more. So they had to pass the baton to her, but that's not it. This is what Marxists do. This is what they do. When they're in power, they crave more power. And they erode it bit by bit, little bit by little bit, gaslight you and say that one over there is trying to destroy the democracy. They do that all in the name, all while they destroy democracy, right? Weaponizing the judicial system against you, whatever they got to do to keep that power. Forget the fact that our economy is collapsing. Don't pay attention to that. When Marxists are in power, Marxist regimes, when that regime is in power, the nation usually collapse due to the economic struggles. Because what happens is you get political instability, which we're looking at. I mean, the government looks pretty unstable right now. We don't know who's running the country. Like, where is Joe? Does Joe do press conferences anymore? Or is he eating his Jell-O at certain times of the day, and then he needs his nap, and then by that time, it's time for him to go to bed? Like, we don't know. We don't know. But we definitely got political instability, economic struggles, a myriad of social unrest that's going on. What I want to Do you think it would be useful maybe for us to examine history and perhaps, I don't know, maybe it's me, learn about some real life examples of how this has played out in real life? Like, we don't have to make it up and say, well, in my hypothesis, if a country was to adopt a Marxist, communist ideal, what would happen? We already know. This is why they want to erase history, and they want you to think about what can be and be unburdened by what has been. Don't let the past burden you down, those details of what Marxism has done, right? No, don't do that. Do you guys y'all want to see where Marxism and communism has failed, where it's been tried? I don't know, everywhere, but let's start with the Soviet Union. Let's start with them. The Soviet Union was one of the first nations to formally embrace Marxism as its guiding principle, right? So led by Vladimir Lenin and later Joseph Stalin, a very evil, wicked person. All these people have something in common. They seem nice on the surface. I know Bernie just be like, oh, he's just so cool, Uncle Bernie. These people are evil. But anyway, led by Vladimir Lenin and later Joseph Stalin, the country, when it first started out, they experienced super fast industrialization. They underwent a lot of agricultural collectivization. Now, what is that? Agricultural collectivization. Let me just tell you what that is briefly. Agricultural collectivization, it is a system in which land and other agricultural resources are owned and managed collectively by a group of individuals rather than by individual farmers. So just think a bunch of Chinese people coming here and buying up all the land, particularly farmland. That's actually happening. That happened a lot during COVID. I don't know if y'all noticed when we had that real estate boom, when properties was flying off the shelf and there were these bidding wars. Yes, we had a lot of Chinese people coming here, investors, as they call them, buying up a bunch of land, farmland. Like in the Midwest, right, in corn country, people were trying to figure out why are they buying up all this land? Now, another example is in Russia when this happened. They claimed it was a way to increase agricultural productivity and promote social and economic equality. What can be unburdened by what has been. Basically, that's how, the left is always talking about reimagining stuff. Well, in the case of this agricultural collectivism, that's reimagining farming. They want to reimagine the police, which basically is lawlessness. With this agricultural productivity, it was reimagining farming. However, when this happened, there were significant negative impacts on food production, right? This devastated rural communities. And what was the end result? You had widespread famine, political oppression, and lots of economic challenges. So the Soviet Union, as you know, they ultimately disintegrated, right? They collapsed in 1991, prompting the shift to a market-based economy. And I'm like, wow, look at that. Wow, that a market-based economy sounds a little bit like capitalism. I don't know. Capitalism don't seem so bad. It's like they tried this and they're like, now they done destroyed the country. It collapsed. And now to rebuild, they realize they need to shift to a market-based economy. So let's look at another real life example. I don't know. Russia may be difficult for you to conceptualize. So let's look at North Korea, right? So after the Korean War, North Korea became a communist state under the leadership of Kim Il-sung or Kim the second son. Oh, I don't know what I typed there. Kim Sung. I may be saying his name wrong, but this is after the North Korean War. The country has been categorized and is chiefly known by its authoritarian rule, human rights abuses, and economic struggles. To this very day, it remains a one-party communist state under the leadership of the big dog, Kim Jong-un. So, y'all know you can't even go to North Korea. Like, you can't go over there. That's a utopia, right? You can't go over there and they don't let their people out. Like, they not leaving. That's communism for you. What about China? China in 1949, Mao Zedong led the Chinese Communist Party to a victory in a civil war and established the People's Republic of China. Under Mao's leadership, China underwent radical social and economic changes, including the collectivization of agriculture. There's that concept again. So Russia went to a collectivization of agriculture, right? And now we have here that China did the same thing. Common thread. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Then it says, they went through a collectivization of agriculture and the Cultural Revolution. Now, that looks like a cultural revolution to me in the sense that it seems like the Cultural Revolution is the precursor to the communism. So when we examine here in the American context, isn't that what Kamala's trying to usher in? Right? Like she wants to normalize, the sexual perversion and the deviant behavior, make sex work great again, right? Promote twerking and cross-dressing he-she's. Like, what were the results of this revolutionary new way of life that China implemented, right? It says here that under these new policies, what were the results? Widespread famine. There it goes again. People hungry and starving. Happened in Russia. Happened in North Korea. Happens in China. Political repression and economic struggles. You'll be broke, own nothing, and you'll like it because you ain't got a choice. Same common thread with all of these nations. After Mao's death in 1976, China began to transition to a market economy while still maintaining a one-party communist political system. So they realized, okay, people are dying. Well, they kill people if you resist, and people were starving. So they figure, okay, we can at least transition to a market-based economy, but we're gonna hold on to authoritarian, tyrannical, one-party communist political system rule. We like that part. Another real-life example, Cuba, 1959. Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, they led a revolution in Cuba and established a Marxist government. The country underwent significant social and economic changes, including the nationalization of industry. So that's your food, whatever the means of production is, the country takes over all of that. It's a nationalized situation now. So the nationalization of industries and the implementation of socialist policies. Doesn't that sound familiar, y'all? Like, let's think about the American equivalent of what's being pushed on us now. Free healthcare for all, right? Free college for all. Why we got to pay for college? Why can't it be free? Healthcare is a right. Nobody should be without healthcare. It should be free. Give us a mandatory $20 minimum wage and give us universal basic income. Does that ever work? Does it ever work? No, it doesn't. The question is, how do we know? I don't know why America thinks it's special that if we did it, it wouldn't be, how Cuba ended up. Well, Cuba has faced economic struggles and political repression under the Castro regime, and to this day, it is still a one-party communist state. Why do you think Cubans are out here making boats out of old cars and then using it to sail across shark-infested waters to come here to these here United States? They want to just put their foot on this terra firma It's because they know Marxism and socialism and communism sucks. It is trash. But the ignorant, the uninformed, the ones stuck on identity politics, standing with her because she's fake black, they don't even realize what or who they are standing with. They ain't even put two and two together. So overall, here's my point. The end result of Marxism, it is a practice that is always characterized by authoritarianism, economic struggle, human rights abuses, and eventually the nation collapses. Socialism is what destroyed Venezuela. And this is where America is headed. So when you have candidates like a Kamala Harris, who's talking about, the significance of the passage of time and, what can be unburdened by what has been. When you hear her say that, it is she is telling you what her policy platform is. Now, she's not going into great detail about it because it's whatever she says it is when she gets into office and then decides how she's going to remain this authoritarian type rule where they decide what's best for you, where, lawlessness abounds. Your children are properties of the state, and we decide that they should be exposed to sexual perversion because we think that's good. And we don't care that you don't like that. And that all that God stuff, your belief in God, that's oppressive. We got to get rid of that because remember, the Marxist regime, the government is God. There's no room for the providence of God and for the person to be directed as their own individual, self-autonomous person. No, they are the all-powerful. They are the all-knowing, almighty, omnipotent ones. It's the government. So she wants to give everybody health care and free college. This is the road you don't want to be on, people. You don't want to be on this road. And the idea that she's paying people, influencers, to echo a message that many of them are like, we don't even know what your message is. Well, I'm telling you, this is what her message is. And so, yeah, she's been able to fool some people and put some bread in their pocket. Ricky Smiley, Steve Harvey, make y'all say whatever it is she told y'all to say. And they gonna take the money. Oh, yeah, they're gonna take the money to add to their empire. And it's because they're either complicit and know what the end is, or they're so ignorant that they have no clue what they're supporting. They just know we were paid to stand with her and to advocate and support her. And I mean, it might be to the detriment of America, but we don't care about that because as long as we get our check, we're safe. Well, under communism, nobody is safe. And you out here in the breadline just with the rest of us. It just takes you a little longer because you got a little bit more money to sustain you. But at the end of the day, the reason why Kamala can say what has been or what can be unburdened by what has been, because that is the foundation of her Marxist worldview. And she wants to usher in this idea of, I am bringing in this utopia of equality and equity, and everyone is included, and we're going to stamp out poverty, and there are no big I's and little U's. We're all the same. But what she's not telling you and what she is not explaining to you is that this never works, and that it is the actual antithesis of what America has stood for and has allowed all people, regardless of ethnic distinction, to flourish. But if my question is, if her ideas were so good and so wonderful, one, why can't she share them with us? And two, why do they have to be force-fed and shoved down our throats? Why the deception? Why the bait and switch? Why the ambiguity? Why can't you just Just be who you are and tell everybody this is who you are, as opposed to using all this veiled language. They can't, because the Marxist is a godless worldview. They don't believe in the truth. They think it's okay to be deceptive if the ends justify the means. And so when people like Umar Johnson call her out, yeah, I can celebrate that. However, he's a socialist living as a capitalist trying to call out a Marxist, and that doesn't make any sense. I don't know if he's thought deeply about his positions, but he's not somebody that should be listened to either. But on this, I mean, in his silverback gorilla energy, I wasn't mad at him, but it is quite confusing. So essentially, that is all I wanted to present to you tonight. I wanted to help make sense of that benign, mind-numbing, psychotic, hypnotic phrase that Kamala always says, and try to explain to you guys, well, what is behind that when she says that? And I want to thank Susie Q for inspiring this content tonight. When she made that statement about how it's essentially painting this picture of this future utopia that doesn't have a memory of the past. Forget the past. Let's tear down the monuments. You don't need to remember the past and what happened in the past to Russia and what happened in the past to China and what happened in the past to North Korea and Cuba and Taiwan and Venezuela. No, we don't need to worry about that. Don't focus on the memories of the past. Let's erase history, right? Erase history of freedom to create a socialist nightmare, except she's not telling you it's a nightmare because she has to sell it like the new shiny thing. And I understand, and sadly, I'm just going to say this. A lot of Black people are going to be on board with this because they have yet to learn how to function in their freedom. They have been told for so long that America is racist. The white man has his knee on your neck. White supremacy is the greatest threat to you. So therefore, you're like the elephant that they put the chain around his ankle and then they take the chain on and he never leaves because he believes that he is still enslaved. And the reason why some Black people resonate with the lack of Kamala's message is because they've allowed the ethnic narcissism, they've allowed the symbolism of what she allegedly represents to cloud their judgment to where they're not paying attention to what she actually represents, what she actually believes, and what she's actually going to usher in. And that is the sad part, because she's using Black people to usher in their own demise, and they don't even realize it because the God of melanin has distracted them and forced them to just glory in their flesh. And the sad part about it is it's not even a good cheap fake, because I could see if she was an actual, Black American female with Black parents and was just your typical success story of I worked hard to get to where I am, but we can't even say that. Like we didn't learn about Kamala's faux Blackness until she didn't want to be Indian no more. And then she just stamped it on her forehead. And then all the Black people were like, yeah, I mean, she light skinned. It look good enough. That's good enough. I mean, for my audience that's Christian, I expect us to not look at what a person looks like, but to look at what are they advocating and supporting and demanding of you? What are they asking in exchange for your support? What are they actually providing? And when I say that, I am not saying what they're providing for Black people. You are a holy nation, a royal priesthood. You are separate and set apart for the gospel of God. I'm just saying, as a citizen of America, Americans, what is either of these candidates offering the American people? And are you going to be attributed with sin if the policies that they're advocating, if they're in opposition to God's word, are you going to have blood on your hands and be guilty because you're supporting her without giving thought to what does that mean? Like, what does it mean to support her? And if the first thing out your mouth is, well, reproductive rights, you're in sin and need to repent. Because Christians don't support reproductive rights. We don't even have such a concept in our worldview because we believe that image bearers are created in the image of God, and we don't snuff life. We don't take life. That's not something that we do. And so when you have pastors in the pulpit, and that's like a part of their talking point, that's an apostate. That's a false shepherd. That is someone that hates God and loves what is wicked. You can't support that. You can't support that. Let me get to these super chats. Hey, Chris Creative, how are you tonight? Let me see. Hold on. Chris says Black women deleted 30 million children since 1960. And then the Dems let in 30 million illegals. Currently 46 million Blacks and 76 million Latinos are in the U.S. I think y'all need to meditate on what Chris Creative just said. Under the banner of freedom and liberation and feminism and an agency over your body, all in the name of that, when it's not your body, it's another human body that's actually the subject of the atrocity, but whatever. Black women have deleted 30 million kids since 1960. And now we have someone that just leaves the border wide open because she already knows that we're beyond the rate of replacement. I say that all the time on this channel. Black people, the Black American ethnicity is beyond the rate of replacement. Like, we can't catch up because so many of us were never born. So she ushers in 30 million illegals. So now, in total, 46 million Blacks, 76 million Latinos. They've outpaced us. So while it would be nice for you to be on board, and she actually kind of does need you to be on board, I need Black people to convince me how supporting this is not supporting their own demise. Bring your best argument. Email me at info@thestandardoftruthpodcast.com. Bring in your best argument for why it is good and righteous to support the demise of future Black ethnic image bearers in the womb. Bring your best argument. I'm open. I want to hear it because I already know there's going to be crickets on it. Right? And I'm not talking about the exceptions. I'm talking about what the exceptions are not the rule. Grape, incest, those are very real atrocities that happen, but those are not the exceptions. Those are not the rules or the standards. Those are the exceptions. So what I need is your best argument. Ciao. Hey, friend. Thank you, Chris Creative, for that insightful statistic and information. I think we needed to hear that. Chow says, the Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. Absolutely. The Lord judges with righteous judgment. And I believe that's something that we should be able, if you're indwelt with the Spirit and you're constantly being conformed to the image of Christ and you're in his word and you're understanding the character and nature of God and how he is, one of his attributes is actual justice, not social justice, but a biblical, a godly view of justice that literally doesn't look at the existential realities and the things that are important to us and our human fallen self, the things that we elevate as important. God looks at the heart, which is the seat of who we are, our will, our mind and our emotions, and where murder and evil and strife and slander, all of that, it all comes from here, right? It all comes from the heart. And so thank you, Chow, for 1 Samuel 16, verse 7b. I think that's a sobering reminder to help us to understand when we have to make these decisions, what should be guiding our worldview. I would also want to share with you guys, I started working on something and I didn't finish it yet. I don't know, do I have it up? Yeah, so I received an email today from a gentleman, shout out to you, Brother Sean, who has compiled this amazing website. And I'm looking at the time, so I'm not going to cover it tonight because it's an hour and 57 minutes into the show. But I'm working on a show called A Christian Guide to Politics. And by God's grace, Brother Sean is the inspiration for this show that I'm working on, because he has compiled this website that is just, I believe, is going to be an incredible resource to help believers who, now, and when I say believers, we have church folks, Christians in name only, churchians, you know, the bedside Baptists, the false professors who are not really interested in what God has spoken concerning this issue. They are led by their emotions. They're led by, you know, what they feel. And they don't have an inner conviction of a testimony of the Holy Spirit to guide their thinking. But this show that I am working on, and I'm trying to just get past this event. I was hoping I was going to have it done in time for tomorrow, but I don't believe I will. I want to talk or to help equip believers how to parse through these things from a biblical perspective, understanding and keeping in mind that politicians, by and large, not all, but most, they're not going to be believers. Okay. Like that's just, I need Christians to understand that you don't get to make an excuse and sit outside of this political process by saying, well, you know, they're all evil and wicked and I don't want no parts of it. Like you do bear some duty and responsibility. I'm not saying that, you know, there's a biblical admonition that you have to participate in the process, but I can build a biblical case for why it would be good and wise for you to do so. And that failing to do so, on some level, could be viewed as a lack of love for your neighbor and a lack of Christian charity in terms of you're given the opportunity to do good, especially to those in a household of faith. But instead, in the name of, I'm too lazy to really look at the issues and meditate and think deeply about this and make a wise decision that God would be pleased with, you sit back and be like, they all evil on both sides, so I don't want to participate. I don't believe that is a good display of Christian charity or Christian citizen responsibility, knowing that we are citizens of heaven and that we have a dual citizenship, right? We're citizens of heaven. And then wherever you live, you're a citizen of that domain, that country, that nation. And if God allows you to still be in a nation that affords you an option to exercise that right, I think it's a good thing. And I'm working on building a biblical case for that that's fair and balanced. But Brother Sean sent me a resource today that has been such an inspiration to me. And I want to share it with you guys in an upcoming show once I finish putting the final touches on it. I got an email from someone that wanted me to pick up where I left off on a couple of weeks ago, maybe, no, more, it was a lot of weeks ago. Probably was like 2 months ago. Feels like weeks. When I covered Jamal Bryant and the side chick and the side piece debacle mess, I never finished kind of fleshing out my thoughts on the worldview that undergirds why there are some women who believe that, yes, the men need to be held accountable, but their solution is that women need to be elevated to spaces and share in spaces of authority with men, in addition to the men repenting. How they make that leap, I don't know. But I talked about in that show how one of the former, situationship women with Jamal had reached out to me and shared with me her dissertation. I've never shared her identity. I don't plan to do that. But what I do plan to do, since I did purchase a copy of her dissertation, and I would never distribute that. I mean, I purchased it, but I would never distribute it publicly. That's just wrong. However, I do believe that the arguments made in that dissertation can be publicly critiqued, and they can be publicly critiqued in light of what the scriptures teach. So I do plan to pick up where I left off with that. I know for a fact it's going to be well past after I get done with this live event. But I will say that feminism has so infected our society that it's infected the church so much that there are actually people who they view the Bible through a feminist lens, and everywhere in the Bible, they see them and their feminine energy and some sort of feminine divinity in the text. And that's just a perspectivalism that just the Bible neither affirms or supports, and it needs to be dealt with biblically. All this female empowerment and the black woman is God, and there's layers to this foolishness that I want to deal with. But thank you, Sister Ruth. Shout out to Ruth McGregor for sending the super chat. Thank you so much for your support tonight. Greatly appreciate you stopping by and listening to what I have to say. Hopefully I didn't bore you too much. By the way, you guys, I don't know if you have managed to like this video, but let's go ahead and do that, because this topic was weighty in the sense that, the mainstream media is actively suppressing dissenting voices that are not standing with her. So like, if you're not Team Kamala, they're just pushing your stuff down so that the people don't hear it. And so it's important that we like videos like this and we share it far and wide, and we watch it and engage with it and leave comments so that the algorithm knows that, there's some people out there that want to hear it. Like, you just have to fight actively against the algorithm. And so this is just that friendly reminder that doesn't cost you anything. Please like the video, share it with your community, engage in the comments and in the live chat. All of those various forms of engagement does help the video and push it out to more people. So thank you, Sister Ruth McGregor, for your super chat. Brother Corey, hey friend. Brother Corey says, MLK, Margaret Sanger, did a delusional indoctrination on black churches and turned them completely atheist campuses. My heart tries not to be hardened. Sir, I hear you. I did not realize, and I still don't think many Christians that share my ethnic image understand the operation known as MLK. I'll put it like this. Whenever you have an individual who claimed to be a black preacher and pastor celebrated by the left, that should make you turn your head sideways, squint your eye like this and be like, why is that? To get a better perspective, ask yourselves, Why does the left celebrate a black pastor and preacher so much that he is revered and given a national holiday? Is it really because of civil rights? Is it really? Or is there another reason? We already know that he was used as an operative in order to bring the idea of womb assassination and make it popular, and to convince black people, particularly in churches, that limiting their reproduction was a good thing. As a matter of fact, let me read. I should have saved it. Let me read this to you guys. I want to read to you his MLK's acceptance speech of the Margaret Sanger Award. Give me 1 second. I thought I saved it, but I didn't. So, here we go. Let's see. Be patient. I'm trying to find it. I thought I had it. That wasn't it. Where is it? I think I got it. Yep. Found it. Oh no, don't tell me they washed it. I just had it. Where did it go? Planned Parenthood took it down. Hold on. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to read excerpts of it until I can find the full speech. Let me read this to you guys. So this piggybacks off of what Brother Corey was just saying. Brother Corey was just saying that MLK, Margaret Sanger, did a delusional indoctrination on black churches and turned them into complete atheists. Yes, I would argue they are indeed functional atheists. But let's read this. I'm going to read this to you guys. The Margaret Sanger Award is Planned Parenthood's highest honor. Now, keep in mind, they haven't given this award out since 2015. Just keep that in mind. But it is presented annually to someone who demonstrates leadership, excellence, and outstanding contributions to the reproductive health and rights movement. So that's the purpose of the award. So that's the context of why someone would be given the Margaret Sanger Award. The award was established in 1966, and it was awarded to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. In that year, Dr. Carl G. Hartman, General William H. Draper Jr., and President Lyndon B. Johnson were also honored in the award's first year. Coretta Scott King delivered her husband's acceptance speech on May 10th, 1966, because he could not attend the ceremony. So he had a competing engagement, and so he sends Coretta in his place to accept the award. Listen to this. This is a quote from the speech. "There is no human circumstance more tragic than the persisting existence of a harmful condition for which a remedy is readily available. Family planning to relate population to world resources is possible, practical, and necessary. Unlike plagues of the Dark Ages or contemporary diseases we do not yet understand, the modern plague of overpopulation is soluble by means we have discovered and with resources we possess." Y'all, I don't I think that went over so many people's head that do I need to exegete the speech? I will exegete the speech. There is no human circumstance more tragic than the persisting existence of a harmful condition for which a remedy is readily available. This man called "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth," a harmful condition that needed to be remedied, and he's talking about birth control, abortion being a remedy that is readily available for this harmful condition, because there's nothing more tragic than this existence of this harmful condition known as human life flourishing. The directive given to us in Scripture: be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. You have a Negro pastor, a preacher, someone who is supposed to represent the kingdom of God and the kingdom of light, uttering words that someone who only could represent the kingdom of darkness would say. Why would a pastor say this? Why would a pastor who believes God and his word and is filled and indwelled with the Holy Spirit say that family planning to relate population to world resources, like we can achieve that? We can minimize the amount of people in the world and should do so because it's practical and necessary. And then says, unlike plagues of the dark ages or contemporary diseases that we don't understand, he refers to reproduction, right? Humans flourishing and being born, a modern plague of overpopulation. That's what he calls it. So, unlike plagues of the dark ages, which is basically God and his sovereignty, because remember, he's God and we're not. We've seen through antiquity when diseases come, and through the natural providence of God, because there are no maverick molecules and everything that happens is by God's design, even the bubonic plague, the Black Death, you name it. These things that have had to kind of, through God's sovereignty, where human death is the result, not by our agency, but by divine providence happens. He is saying that what we're doing on purpose, apart from God, in violation of his word, this is not like that. Unlike the plagues of those dark ages and these contemporary diseases that we don't understand, the modern plague of overpopulation, meaning too many people on the earth, which is God wanted us to be fruitful and multiply. He says we can remedy this. We can remedy this. And it's soluble by means that we've discovered and with resources that we possess, meaning birth control pills, all kinds of methods of inhibiting birth. And not only that, but just going directly into the womb and then convincing people to kill their babies. We need that. That's good. What kind of eugenics language is this? I know this is a golden calf for so many of you. Like, how dare you say MLK wasn't a Christian? He was a preacher. I just said it. Christians don't speak like this. Christians who believe that God's word is inerrant and infallible and is everything that we need for life and godliness don't speak like this. You don't have to like it. I know you got a fan with MLK's likeness on it and his picture up in your house next to JFK and then white Jesus. But I'm telling you that preachers of the word, shepherds who are deserving of the faithful crown of glory, they don't talk like this. They don't. Then let's go on. It says, there is a striking kinship between our movement and Margaret Sanger's early efforts. Is it? Well, what kind of kinship is that? Because she wanted to exterminate black folk. She wanted to get rid of human weeds. So, Martin, tell me, what is this striking kinship between her movement and yours? He goes, she like we, saw the horrifying conditions of ghetto life, like we, she knew that all of society is poisoned by cancerous slums, meaning even if you're poor, you don't deserve to live because we don't think that you should. Like we, she was a direct actionist. She did something about it. You know the remedy for poverty? You ain't fit to live. You poor. You poor, blind, naked, you're ugly, you got to die, basically. Like we, she was a direct actionist, a non-violent resistor. She was willing to accept scorn and abuse until the truth she saw was revealed to the millions. This man calls her worldview true. And you want me to stay home on MLK Day and celebrate? Every year that I've had my business, I've never closed on MLK Day. It was just nothing to observe, in my opinion. And don't tell me you got the rights that you have because of MLK. No, the Constitution already afforded those rights. We just needed to adjudicate what was already written. We didn't need to have dogs sicked on us and hosed down and laid down while folks spit on us and beat us. No, we didn't need that. I know you're shown that, and like that was a virtuous thing, that they fought and died and they walked across the Edmund Pettus Bridge and was just chewed up by the dogs. No, we didn't need to do that. But let me continue. At the turn of the century, she went into the slums and set up a birth control clinic. And for this deed, she went to jail because she was violating an unjust law. Basically, when Margaret opened her first clinic in Brooklyn, she was targeting the feeble, the poor, the indigent, those that she deemed were unfit to live, and went into the slums to convince them, when you poor, you ain't got no money, the best thing to do is to, you shouldn't have no more children because you're too poor. You're too poor. And that message resonated with a lot of poor women who, for whatever reason, didn't believe the fact that our circumstances in life do not get to determine whether our human life is valuable. That even if you are poor, I had the Zimmy Fleck on my show from Georgia Right to Life, who shared her story of the fact that I think she's one of 6 siblings who her mother passed away, and a family who was very, very poor and could not really afford it took all of them in and raised them in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment here in Atlanta. And she's fearlessly pro-life because under Margaret Sanger's paradigm, her life wouldn't have been valuable because it was like, well, this is your mother's 6th child, and then she left. You shouldn't have been born because you're too poor. You need a certain amount of money to be declared worthy to live. I'm not even finished. Oh, by the way, yes, Margaret did go to jail. She was arrested and went to jail, and then somehow they let her out. She knew powerful people in high places. But anyway, yet the years have justified her actions. This man basically said, her going to jail for setting up this birth control clinic in the hood with the poor people, it was justified. She launched a movement which is obeying a higher law to preserve human life under humane conditions. Here we have this preacher, alleged preacher of the word, trying to draw a parallel between the wicked eugenics agenda of Margaret Sanger as some sort of holy and high moral law. Because forget the fact that Jesus was poor and didn't have a lot of money. Should we have snuffed out the King of Glory in the womb too, Martin? I know you did and you've received your just reward, but I'm just saying. It sounds like what you're saying. When someone says she launched a movement which is obeying a higher law to preserve human life under humane conditions, basically the poor, you don't have a lot of money and you don't have everything that you want or desire, but God is providing for you, and that the benevolence of other people, namely Christians, make sure you have what you need. No, you shouldn't be alive. Your mother shouldn't have had you because you grew up poor. Abject poverty is a reason to kill people. It's basically what it sounds like he's saying. Margaret Sanger had to commit what was then called a crime in order to enrich humanity. This man considered what this woman stood for an example of humanity being enriched. And today we honor her courage and vision, for without them, there would be no beginning. Our sure beginning in the struggle for equality by nonviolent direct action may not have been so resolute without the tradition established by Margaret Sanger and people like her. This is unbelievable. This is on a whole nother level of Black people. We don't really know what we have hitched our wagon to, and the Trojan horse that we celebrate as good and righteous. It says Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. received his award for his courage, his courageous resistance to bigotry, and his lifelong dedication to the advancement of social justice and human dignity. That's what we're told. But eugenicists like Margaret Sanger, I don't believe he got the award for his courageous resistance to bigotry. I don't believe that, considering she used the Negro preacher to advance her cause within the co-opted cause of the civil rights movement, to convince the Negroes that, listen, we want to exterminate them, but they don't need to know that. And we need the Negro preacher to dispel that myth. Because, sometimes with them Black folks, you got the rebellious ones, the ones that just be thinking too much. We need the Negro preacher to dispel that myth, if the word were to ever get out, that that's what we're really doing. I need to find the rest of this full speech. Think I found it. I think I found it. Darn it. They done pulled it down again. Someone tell me, if truth is supposed to be good, why is it that Planned Parenthood is actively suppressing this part of their history? There's another link that I found that's supposed to lead to the speech, and it takes you straight to Planned Parenthood's website, but it's not there. Let me see if this link works. I'm trying to find the speech. Oh, gosh. I'm sure it's codified somewhere, and we'll be able to find it. I found something else that is useful, so let me download this, but it's not what I was looking for. Listen to this. I found this excerpt that says, was Sanger racially motivated? And I think that this is from a file that I found on Planned Parenthood's website. So here is them, in my opinion, trying to sanitize what was really happening by saying, see, we weren't bigots. We had Black people in our movement. Despite the admiration that African-American heroes like Du Bois, Powell, and King held for Sanger, arguments continue about whether or not her outreach to the Black community was racially motivated. The patriarchal racism of the social policy of the time and the well-intentioned paternalism of philanthropists to lift up African Americans may have influenced Sanger. But there is no evidence that Sanger or the Federation intended to coerce Black women into using birth control. That's a flat out lie, because we already have quotes from her that talked about what her goal and her mission and vision was and what it was intended to do. The fundamental belief underscored at every meeting, mentioned in much of the behind-the-scenes correspondence, and evident in all printed materials put out by the Division of Negro Service, was that uncontrolled fertility presented the greatest burden to the poor, and Southern Blacks were among the poorest Americans. In fact, the Negro Project did not differ very much from the early birth control campaigns in the rural South. It would have been more racist, in Sanger's mind, to ignore African Americans in the South than to fail at trying to raise the health and economic standards of their community. So basically, they're trying to argue that Margaret wasn't racist. She actually had a heart for Black Southern Negroes and all their baby birthing because, you know, Negroes in the South were poor. And she was more concerned about the health outcomes and the life that these poor little Black little Negroes, the Negro children would have. And so they needed the birth control. Y'all, this is wild. This is wild. I hope that's been helpful for you today. I am going to my research assistant Marshall told me today that he just got a copy of a biography of Margaret Sanger that is very short. It's less than 100 pages. And he told me about it. So I'm going to go ahead and get it and grab a copy of it. And I'm going to read it for you guys. And we're going to dig deep. We're going to dig deep into the life and times of Margaret Sanger to see if, you know, we can get more insight to disprove that she wasn't racially motivated, even though I believe that she was, but it'll make good content for the channel. So why not? Right? Why not? You guys have been a great audience tonight. My nose stopped itching. I have a little permanent bruise. It'll be gone in 48 hours. That's typically how it happens. But thank you, Brother Corey, for bringing that to my remembrance to help me share that with the audience. Sister Amethyst. Hey, beautiful. She says, I'm going to reread Orwell's 1984, just an end of summer fiction read. Yeah, right. Grown eyes, mature minds, wisdom, truth stranger than fiction. You know what? I haven't read 1984 since, was I in high school or was I in junior high school? I can't remember. I may have been either in the 9th grade or the 10th grade, but I think it's time that we revisit that book, and it's going to be so funny when we read it because we're going to be like, we've lived through this already. So where are we in the book? Like, where are we? That book was incredible, and I think that might be our opening read for homeschool this year. I'm going to make all 4 kids read 1984. Thank you, Sister Amethyst. YouTube subscribers are creating your curriculum for the year. That's amazing. Brother Derek, hey, friend. Here we go. See, I knew he was going to tell us. MLK, talented 10th adherent, alpha, utter heretic, sounding the alarms, bing, bing, bing. So, like, you need to know these things. I think it's not until, and I'm going to say this, and I don't believe this is the only circumstance that someone can be awakened to this information, because there are plenty of unbelievers who know this truth. But it's something about when the Lord opens your eyes and regenerates you, and you are born again, and you are justified by grace through faith, you do have a thirst for knowledge and the truth, and you're willing to seek this stuff out because, especially if you've been deceived before, you're like, no, I want to know the truth, even if it's going to hurt. I believe that Christians who are awakened to this information have the greatest impact in the culture, because not only can we uncover so much of this hidden history, but we can anchor this information in gospel truth to give people the solution and an eternal hope. Because when you learn of this, it makes you feel hopeless. It makes you feel like, well, dang, we ain't really stand a chance. But when you can point people to the truth of the gospel and what Christ has done for us in his death, burial, and resurrection, and how despite Margaret Sanger's eugenics history and her, just feelings of apathy toward the blacks and the poor, and just if you just weren't of stock that she felt was worthy of life, we can point to the gospel and say, in the gospel of Christ, there is no, Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor male nor female. We are one in Christ Jesus. And that we do good to all, especially those in the household of faith. And we all come equal before the cross as sinners in desperate need of a savior. And that you don't have to make a certain amount of money to receive the grace of God. You don't have to be a white person or a black person or have some specific ethnic identity, right? You don't have to live in a certain region. Like you could be from Palestine or Israel or America or Venezuela. You can be from anywhere. And when the gospel of Christ is preached to you and God opens up your heart like he did Lydia and caused her to be born again and to repent and believe, you understand the humanity of all mankind, and you can look at a fellow image bearer not as a human weed, and look at mankind not as a garden that needs to flourish and you got to get rid of undesirables. No. You understand the sanctity of all human life from the womb to the tomb. And you go out of your way to make sure that all people are treated with dignity, value, and respect. Like that's a gospel-centered ideal. An atheist like a Margaret Sanger or, or someone like a Kamala Harris, they can't borrow from that worldview. Now she'll stand up in a fake church in a pulpit claiming, right, to say like churchianity, she'll speak a little Christianese so she can blend in, but the people of God see right through that, and we're not deceived by her act, her facade, her performance. We are examining what's going on in the world with our eyes wide open, and we're being led by the Spirit to make wise decisions and wise choices that are going to be a benefit to all Americans and that are going to, by God's grace, lead us or allow this country to maintain its position of influence in the world, not just to preserve our own individual freedoms. I want to be honest and say part of that is my motivation. But what people also don't understand, that the missionaries that are disseminated to the rest of the world to preach the gospel come from America. And Christianity, I believe, and I'm open to being wrong because I don't know the mind of God and how he's going to use this for his glory. Maybe he has another nation in mind that is going to be more gospel-centered and more missional minded to spread his gospel to the ends of the earth. But what I do know is that the reason why slavery was abolished in this country was because of the Christian witness and the gospel-centered worldview that undermined the idea that all men are created equal and that chattel slavery and the mistreatment of humans was wrong. And atheists didn't come up with that idea. There were abolitionists who were guided by an inner witness of the Holy Spirit to continue on that fight and to fight your neighbor to abolish such an evil, wicked institution. And so if God can use the abolitionist movement of slavery as a witness to the rest of the world, like, yeah, this country is having problems and we having an internal fight right now known as the Civil War, I think we can say the same, that we can fight again to preserve the fact that this country was founded on the providence of God, and that despite it not being a Christian nation, there are enough in the remnant of Christians that are left to go down with the bloodstained banner, leading with the gospel, so that the hearts of the people are therefore changed and turned to God, so that we can push back this evil and wicked Marxist agenda. But like Daniel said, and the Hebrew boys, they're like, listen, if we get thrown in the fire and the Lord sees fit to leave us in there, he has the ability to deliver us. He don't have to, but if he does, you will know that we serve the one true God. And so we don't know how this is going to be used for our good and God's glory, but I pray that the light of the gospel that does come from America, that despite the opposition and the persecution, the church is still going to rise and be the church. And we're going to be willing to lose our lives for this glorious gospel that we preach. I believe that. And so with that said, I'm about to get up on out of here, because now that it don't matter, my nose is not itching. And the stream got ultimately ruined. And then when I try to repurpose this content, people gonna be like, why is that girl? Why is she scratching her nose so much? I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't know why it does it. But Brother Derek says, if Sanger's idea is to care for us via the Negro Project, I'd rather her not to like us at all. Like, don't like me that much. Please love on me from way over there. I don't want that kind of love, care, and esteem. No, don't love me like that. I don't want to be your charity case. I don't want to be, the recipient of your benevolence. No. I told y'all my biggest issue with the government, and why I talk about politics so much, is because the government keeps getting involved. Like, my Christian worldview is informed by my politics, and the government won't leave me alone and just let me glorify my God in peace. Now, they're not obligated to do that. Right? We could be living under the regime like Nero, which we're kind of far from it, but we're headed that way. But I just want to be left alone. Okay? How about y'all? Who wants to be left alone? I do. I just want to leave. I just want to be left alone. Get out my way. Don't do nothing to harm me, but don't put roadblocks in my way. Just get up out my business. Leave me alone, right? Just leave me alone. Anyway, y'all have been a great audience tonight. Wonderful audience tonight. We have 315 likes, 5 dislikes. Those people are so faithful. The faithful 5, they come over here to hate on the stream every week. They have no idea they're actually helping, but I encourage them to, don't like it. You don't have to. My lips are chapped, Dion. Okay, so they are. Listen, you can't feel my lips. I feel my lips. When you're doing this much talking, and I talk a lot, you put the lip gloss on, and then you talk, and then next thing you know, you're like, I need to feel the slippery slope. I need it. I can't do crunchy lips. I can't do it. Yes, Brother Corey. Limited. Any other announcements that I have? I don't believe that I do. If you are in Atlanta, Alabama, South Georgia, South Carolina, North Georgia, Chattanooga, I'd love to see you at my event on Monday nights. I'm super excited. I've got friends coming in town. We're going to break some bread and have a little chit chat. I also need to announce to you guys, I redid my studio. Not this one, but on the other side. And I showed the video to my members when I was in the Target trying to decide what chairs to get. And then I changed my mind and got something different. Okay, y'all end up changing my mind again. Those, I still have those gray chairs, but they're not in here. We ended up moving them upstairs. And there's a lesson in this story. So before I go, let me tell y'all this story. So I want to set up the other side of this room to do more in-person interviews. And I wanted a whole set, right? I had this vision of, a nice backdrop with 2 chairs, have it more look very conversational, multiple camera angles, like the whole 9. And so I went to Target that day, and the vision, I was setting everything up, and I was like, this is perfect. And I realized when I got it home and set everything up, my husband was like, that's not it. I was like, that's not it? He was like, that's not it. I was like, well, I done bought the chairs now. And he said, he was showing me what we were trying to do. There was a sofa chase in here before the chairs. He shows me a picture of the theater, which is upstairs. And he's trying to envision if the sofa that was in here could work in his theater. And when he's looking at his theater, he's like, you have 2 chairs up here in the theater. That would be perfect. And I'm looking at the picture. I'm like, oh, snap. I already have 2 chairs. So we have these super nice chairs that we have had since 2015 or 14. And I know y'all like them some old chairs. Listen, these are some classic, timeless. These chairs will never go out of style. Okay, they're made by a designer by the name of Michael Amini. Michael Amini makes some nice stuff, okay? And we scored these chairs for the low. This was still during right before, no, it's 2014. So this is during Obama's administration. We were still very early in our furniture store journey, and we were still servicing people on the secondhand furniture market because people couldn't afford new furniture. And I'll never forget, one day we got this call from this one guy who had just gotten a job in another state, and he called us like, listen, I have like 24 hours. I got to get rid of everything in my house because I'm leaving the state. He was like, I don't care what you do with this stuff. I just need somebody to come here and get it. And we were like, just come there and get it. He was like, yes. He was like, I'm desperate. I have to move. I don't have any help. Can you do it? I was like, well, send me some pictures of what you have, and, I'll let you know. This dude sent pictures of what he had. And I was like, you want us to come today? We can come today. So what time you need us to be there? Listen, this dude, Michael Amini, chairs, just it was the good stuff, y'all. It was the good. Listen, we sent the truck. Robert was like, no, don't send them. Don't send the guys. I'm going on this one. Robert went to do this pickup himself. And they cleared out this guy's whole apartment. He wouldn't even take money. We were like, sir, please let us. He was like, listen, I don't even have time for that. I need the stuff to go because I got to go. We were like, fine. We've had these chairs ever since. So, moral of the story is, I went to the out. I'm not a shopper, y'all. I hate shopping. I went to the out to look for some chairs because I felt like I needed chairs. And the whole time, I already had everything that I needed. Like the provision was already in my house, but I couldn't see it because my mind was like, oh, well, I want to do this and I need something that's out there. And I'm not, listen, the moral of the story is to not want new stuff. That is not the moral of the story. The moral of the story is that a lot of times God has already provided everything that you already need. But you're too focused on what's out there to pay attention to what's under your nose. Those chairs, when we moved out of our old house, I just knew, I was like, we've enjoyed these chairs. They're in pristine condition, but I think it's time. This is the end of an era. My husband was like, end of this month, not in here. I'm not getting rid of these chairs. He was like, do you know how much these chairs cost? And I was like, yes, I know. We technically didn't buy them. He's like, I don't care. These are high-end chairs, and these are my chairs, and we're not getting rid of them. I was like, fine. Okay, babe. I was like, so where are we going to put them in the new house? He was like, don't worry about that. I'll figure that out. Fine. The chairs have been up in his theater. Nobody sits in the chairs, but he refused to get rid of them. Babe, if you're still awake, and I don't think you are, I'm so glad that you did not get rid of these chairs, because y'all, I'm gonna post a picture of it. They're perfect. They are the perfect chairs, and I already had them, but I forgot about them because we tucked them away. We put them out of sight, out of mind, and we didn't realize. I guess I was having a moment of not being content and feeling like I needed, y'all, them little cheap chairs that I got from the TJ Maxx. I can't take them back because I done pulled the tags off of them. We found a place to put them, and they're going to be used, but I don't even have a lot of upper body strength, and I can pick up these chairs by myself. I don't even need help to move them. They cheap. And Robert is like, we're in the furniture industry. Why are you buying furniture retail? I was like, I don't know. I was in the moment, and I saw the chairs, and I had the vision, and I just went with it. Y'all, this is why I need my husband, because he reeled me in. Like, what you needed was already here. And then it gets worse. I bought 2 little tables to go with them little cheap little gray chairs that were cute. They were cute. Don't get me wrong. They were cute, but they cheap, you know? I also had tables here that I already had that I did not need. I paid $39 for these little tables that I bought to go with the little cheap gray chairs. Robert is like, he was like, you got 3 tables here. He was like, you got a coffee table, and you got the 2 end tables. And I was like, you know what? I sure do. And they look great. These are nice tables. So, long story short, it's a new set to y'all, but it's old for me, but it feels new because we repurposed everything and put a rug that we already had. And the buffet that's behind it that serves as like the little backdrop, we already had that. I did buy some new little decorative pieces, but when y'all see the big reveal, I'm thinking y'all are gonna see it Saturday. I'm gonna have some guests here in studio, and we're gonna probably record here. Y'all will see the new set. And moral of the story is, before you run out going to buy something, look around your house to see what has the Lord already blessed you with and provided that could be used for your good and his glory. And now I'm out of a little bit of money, but you know, whatever. I can't take them back. And I don't like one of those people that just buy stuff and then just be taking it back. Like, we're going to use them somewhere else, but I did not need them. I thought I needed them, but I didn't need them. And they're like inferior in comparison to what I already had. Like the good gifts that the Lord provided, I didn't see the beauty of them because they was tucked away way up there. And I just forgot about them. They were out of sight, out of mind. But they got dusted off today, and they look fabulous. They really do look fabulous. So, anyway, right. You can't go to Target without supervision. That's why I don't go. I don't go into Target. But I was in TJ Maxx. I wasn't in Target. I only went to the TJ Maxx because there's a particular brand of toothpaste that one of my twins loves, and I know they always have it there for the Lolo. And I got lured into the furniture section. I did. It lured me in. And the twin that I had with me was like, why are we looking at furniture? I was like, because we need to redo the set. And I done posted it, and I done changed my mind again. So anyway, hey, Brother Derek. Thank you so much for that super chat. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for helping replenish this chair fund that I didn't need. I'm so embarrassed. I really am, because I didn't need those chairs. I thought I did, but I didn't need it. Right, Brother Thomas. He provides our needs. And my desire was to make the space look good. And I'm not making an argument that we shouldn't go out and buy things. That's not my argument. The argument was that I should have looked around to see what do I already possess? What's in my hands that I have that can be used for his glory without having to go and spend more money. And I didn't do that. I had my eyes set on the new. I wanted the new, but I didn't need the new. So it's new to y'all, but it's the old. These chairs are old, like 2000. We got them in either 2013 or 14. It couldn't have been 2015. I think it was 2014. Michael Amini, like, they dope. I love these chairs. Everybody who sees these chairs, I get so many compliments on them. But Kamala, Brother Tia, that's funny. That's funny, right? Paul, you got the wheeler in. You got to lovingly do it. Like my husband, I was in the TJ Maxx and I was telling him about these chairs. He was like, so you need me to come up there and pick them up? I was like, yes, would you do that? He was like, I'm on the way. He drove all the way up there and found, they're not very helpful at TJ Maxx, especially with the furniture. Like we're asking the employees there, like, do y'all have a dolly or something? And they looked like they didn't want to help. He was like, do you want me to put this on my back and take me to the POS counter? Can I have a dolly, please? So they gave us a dolly. No, they gave us 2 dollies. And he listened to me conceptualize everything in the store, brought the truck up there, loaded everything up, and we got them chairs home. And that's when he realized, he was like, she already got what she need, but I'm going to indulge her. And I went all the way up there and bought those chairs. Picked up those chairs for her, but I ain't need them chairs. I really didn't. All right, you guys. It's time to go. I'm going to go and drink some water. And I might go live tomorrow. I don't know. I have a lot of things to get done for the premiere on Monday, so I may not. But you'll probably see some content, lots of content from me over the next couple of days. Less structured content. I'm talking like content where I'm recording on my phone. And because I'm just excited about this weekend, what I got going on. If you want to come to the premiere, visit events.standardhousemedia.com. And you can buy your ticket there. We still have some left. VIP is almost sold out, but we have general admission seats available. And I'm going to look forward to seeing so many of you guys. So love you with the love of the Lord. Until next time, you guys, grace and peace.